We must be considered one of the best teams ever.
First of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For so many reasons.
When I hear it, I cringe a little bit because, it's a little bit embarrassing. There's no such thing as GOAT.
Michael Jordan is the most ruthless competitor who ever lived. This is a man who fabricated insults just to give himself fuel, who turned the harmless, nice game Mike from LaBradford Smith into a 47-point revenge game, who memorized every slight, every doubter, every whisper for decades. But ask this man one simple question: are you the greatest basketball player of all time? And something strange happens. The killer cringes.
I won't say that I'm better than those people, but I think in terms of success, continuous and consistently.
For almost 20 years, not once, not twice, every single time someone hands him the crown, he refuses to put it on. And what is even more remarkable, he does the exact same thing when you ask him about his teams. This is the side of Michael Jordan that nobody talks about. In 2009, Michael Wilbon sat down with Jordan for an interview that, at the time, barely made a ripple. LeBron James had just declared himself the greatest player of all time after leading Cleveland to that 2016 championship comeback. The internet did what the internet does. It went searching for Jordan's response, and it found this.
I don't want it in a sense because I think it disrespects Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, all the guys that prior to me, I never had a chance to play against. What everybody's saying I am, I never had the chance to compete against other legends that was prior to me.
Now, let's be clear about what just happened. The consensus greatest basketball player in history just said the GOAT label embarrasses him. He didn't say, I'm humbled by it. He didn't say, I appreciate the recognition. He said he cringes. That is not the media-trained response. That is a real reaction from a man who built his entire identity on being the best. But who draws a hard line between competing to be the best and declaring yourself the best? And here's the thing, most people assumed this was one-off, a moment of graciousness, a veteran being diplomatic, but it wasn't, because Jordan has said the exact same thing in every single interview on this topic for years. At one point during a Cigar Aficionado interview, Jordan took it a step further. He didn't just deflect the question emotionally, he broke it down with logic.
First of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling. I never played against Wilt Chamberlain. I never played against, Jerry West. To now say that, one's greater than the other is being a little bit, unfair.
Think about what he just did there. He voluntarily cited another player's championship count being nearly double his own. He didn't have to bring up Russell. Nobody asked him about Russell. He reached for the one comparison that makes his own resume look smaller and used it as his argument for why the whole debate is flawed.
I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that make Bill Russell better than me and make me better than him? No.
Fast forward to 2026, Jordan is back on national television, this time with Mike Tirico for NBC's Insights to Excellence series. It's been 17 years since the Wilbon interview. Jordan is 63 years old. He has sold the Hornets. He's running a NASCAR team. He's a billionaire. He has absolutely nothing to prove to anyone, and Tirico asks the question.
It just doesn't exist with me. I never played against Oscar Roberts or Jerry West. Would have loved to. That's why I have a tough time. And, look, I would love to have played against LeBron and, Kobe in my prime. I would love to have played, against those guys. But we'll never be able to know that.
17 years later, same answer, same names, same respect for generations before him, same refusal. But notice what he added this time. He acknowledged the generations after him too. He said, we paved the road, not I, not my legacy. We. The chain of greatness isn't a ladder with Jordan standing at the top. In his mind, it is a road, and he is somewhere in the middle of it. Weeks later, Gayle King gets him on CBS, same topic, and Jordan goes even further.
There's no such thing as GOAT. You know, to me,
No such thing?
not to me. Yeah, it's only because I think we learn from other athletes, we progress the game. To say that one is better than the other is not really right.
He didn't just decline the title, he said it doesn't exist. The entire concept is flawed in his eyes because basketball is a chain of influence. Every generation learns from the last and teaches the next. Crowning one player as the greatest doesn't just disrespect the past, it breaks the chain. And he added something else. He said the GOAT debate creates animosity between generations. The man who thrived on animosity, who used it as a rocket fuel for his entire career, doesn't want it to exist between the eras of basketball. That tells you everything. And then there's the clip that went viral on TikTok, where someone asks Jordan who the greatest player of all time is, and instead of naming himself, he lists every Bulls championship team by year. 91, 92, 93, 97 even with the flu, the 98 Bulls, no push-off, and 96 Chicago Bulls, 72 wins. He turned the question about the greatest player into an answer about his teams. He couldn't even make it about himself when given the widest possible opening to do so. 5 interviews, nearly 20 years, the exact same answer every single time. This isn't a media strategy. This is who Michael Jeffrey Jordan actually is when you take the ball out of his hands. The 1995-96 Chicago Bulls are widely considered one of the greatest teams in the history of professional sports. The entire basketball world was on its knees watching this team obliterate everything in its path. And while it was happening, while they were 33-3, while every newspaper in America was writing about the greatest team ever assembled, Jordan himself said this. He undermined his own record-breaking season in real time while it was happening. He pointed out that NBA expansion had watered down the competition, that going from 23 teams to 29 meant the talent was spread thinner. He wasn't wrong, by the way, but no one else on that team was saying it. Rodman echoed something similar, but Jordan was the one leading the charge of self-awareness. Years later, when asked which Bulls team was the best, Jordan didn't pick the 72-10 squad, he didn't pick the 98 team, he picked the 91-92 Bulls, a team most casual fans couldn't even identify. He said the team with fewer accolades, fewer wins, and fewer household names was the best.
Was that the best team you played on?
It was the deepest. I think it's from 1 to 12.
Yeah,
we really had a lot of depth on that team.
Yeah, I felt the rhythm that team had, being together for so long. I mean, we could always find a way to win just by riding someone else's coattail. And I think from 1 to 12, as Phil said, it was always connected. I mean, I think that was the difference of the ball of that ball club. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can look at our team right now, and we're more talented as individuals, but in terms of being as connected and being together and learning the system and letting the system work, that was the best team, I think.
Because they were connected. Because everybody from player 1 to player 12 bought in. He valued chemistry over talent. That is not how we talk about Michael Jordan. We talk about him as the ultimate alpha, the one-man wrecking crew, but when he himself evaluates greatness, he measures it in connection. He also opened up about how the dynasty almost destroyed itself, not from outside competition, but from human nature, from egos, from success making people want individual credit instead of collective sacrifice. The greatest dynasty in NBA history didn't almost end because of Jazz or the Knicks or the Pacers. It almost ended because of themselves. And Jordan is the one telling you that. He is not building the mythology, he is giving you the honest, unglamorous truth. But the single most revealing moment, the one that ties everything together, happened at the 1998 MVP ceremony. Bill Russell presented Jordan with his 5th MVP award. Russell, the man with 11 championship rings, the man Jordan himself cited as the reason the GOAT debate is unfair. Russell stood at the podium and told Jordan, the greatest winner in team sports history just told Jordan he is the best he's ever seen. And Jordan's response? He just received his 5th MVP, he was in the middle of winning his 6th championship, and he said Russell's presence was worth more than the award. The trophy wasn't the trophy, the acknowledgement from the man who came before him was the trophy. Now, here's where I need to be careful because this video is not about tearing anyone else down. But to understand just how rare Jordan's humility is, you need context. In 2018, LeBron James appeared on ESPN's More Than an Athlete and reflected on his 2016 championship in Cleveland. The 3-1 comeback against the 73-win Warriors, the first title in Cleveland sports history. I am not here to say LeBron is wrong for believing that. He earned the right to feel that way. That 2016 championship might be the single greatest accomplishment in finals history. But contrast is undeniable. One man looked at his crowning achievement and said, "That made me the greatest." The other man looked at 6 of them and said, "I would never say that about myself." And it is not just LeBron. We live in an era of legacy management. Players hire branding teams. They curate their narratives. They build media empires specifically designed to control how history remembers them. Kevin Durant left OKC for Golden State, partly because how it would look on his resume. Players talk openly about chasing rings because they knew that is how they'll be judged. Jordan didn't manage his legacy. He earned it and then deflected it every single time. And that is what makes this so fascinating. In an era where everyone is fighting to be called the GOAT, the actual GOAT wants nothing to do with it. The most competitive man alive looked at 11 championship rings and said, "How can you push him in a corner and say, forget about him?" That is not weakness. That is not false modesty. That is the deepest form of competitive respect, because Jordan understood something that most people never will. The game didn't start with him, and it won't end with him. He was one link in a chain that stretches from Bill Russell to Jerry West to himself to Kobe to LeBron to whoever comes next. And maybe that is exactly why he is the greatest. Not because of the 6 rings or the scoring titles or the flu game or the last shot, because the man who had the most reason in the world to say, "I am the best who ever did it," never did.